Hey, Mama. So recently there has been lots of buzz around podcast guests having to pay a fee in order to be on someone's podcast. Or even I've seen it with speaking engagements where people are requiring you to pay a fee to speak at their conference or their summit. And this is something that actually came up with one of the mamas inside of the Social Media Detox Club. So I wanted to talk about it here on the podcast because I do not want to see any of you taken advantage of. But before we jump into today's episode, if you haven't already, make sure you get on the waitlist for my free private podcast, The Visibility Accelerator. After you listen to this private podcast, you're going to know exactly what you need to do to fast track your visibility without posting on socials 24/7. So click the link below in the episode description or head on over to the show notes and get on the waitlist. All right, let's jump into today's episode. Hey, Mama. Are you tired of feeling stressed and overwhelmed trying to grow your online business with your babies at home? You desire more flexibility in your day, allowing you to pour into your family, yourself, and your business without running yourself into the ground. Mama, you can build your dream business and do it in a way that fits your current season of life. And I'm going to show you exactly how. Welcome to the Mama Turned Mompreneur podcast. I'm your host, Andrea Singletary, daughter of the king, wife, mama of two, and life and business coach for mompreneurs. On this podcast, you will learn business strategies made for mamas just like you, who desire to be successful CEOs and fully present mamas without stress or overwhelm. So whether you're an entrepreneur who transitioned to a mompreneur or a mama turned mompreneur, I am here to support you. So grab your coffee, notebook, and pen, put in those earbuds, and let's dig in. Okay. So should you pay for speaking engagements? And this is including like guesting on podcast or, anything like that. And so I got this question from one of the mamas inside of the Social Media Detox Club. She asked me, if it's common to pay for speaking gigs. So she had gotten accepted to speak at an event, but it required her to purchase a ticket to attend the conference. Now, they did give a discount on the ticket, but it's not including food and travel. And then another one that she was considering applying to required an application fee. So there was no guarantee that she would actually be accepted as a speaker. Just to be able to apply, they were requiring an application fee. Now, there has also been more and more podcast hosts charging a fee to be a guest on their podcast. Now, supposedly these fees go towards like production. I've seen pricing as low as about like $50 all the way up to $7,500. So I'm going to be sharing my thoughts on paying. When it comes to podcast guesting and speaking engagements, I do not believe you should be paying. With podcast guesting, like unless you are paying for a sponsored ad, you shouldn't be paying. And I say this because you as a podcast guest or, a guest speaker, you are doing several things. One, you are bringing value to their audience on a subject matter that they aren't an expert in. You are giving them access to your audience and your influence. So, when we guest on podcasts or we collaborate in these different speaking engagements, whether it's a conference, a summit, whatever, we are going to promote it. That's the idea. You're going to promote it to your own audience to help create more exposure, not just for you, but the person you're collaborating with. Even though it's their platform, you're helping their platform gain more exposure. So when speaking at a conference that is paid, I do not believe you should be paying to speak. And I'm saying that this is Andrea's opinion. Other people may feel differently, but I look at it as this. If the tickets are like $300 plus, they should not be requiring the speakers to pay anything, especially usually what happens is that as a speaker, you have to promote the event. So you're helping them gain sales. Now, I know that there's a lot that goes into hosting these events, especially if it's a live event, and, the costs that goes with being able to, pay for where the event is going to take place, if there's food and different things like that. I know all of that comes into play, but as a speaker, you shouldn't be required to fund that. Like and again, this is Andrea's opinion. And so if it's a collaboration, meaning it should benefit both parties, that's collaboration. We are partnering. There's something in it for both of us. So if I'm paying you, that's not really like, it's not as much as you're getting something greater out of it than I am. So that's how I feel about it. Like, I don't feel that you should be paying, especially when there are so many opportunities available where people aren't charging you. They're not requiring you to pay. They're excited to be able to collaborate with you and have you bring more value to their event, but also they're getting access to your audience and your network and different things like that. The other thing is that if it's an in-person event and you have to travel for that event, in my opinion, you should not be paying to like for a ticket or paying to speak or anything like that. Now, ideally, the minimum that should be covered is food and travel, but that may not be the reality, especially if it is a newer event or different things like that. When people are just starting out, I mean, if you're just starting out as a speaker, you may be willing to cover those fees because of, the visibility, the networking and exposure. However, when it comes to like professional speakers, they get paid for their speaking and they have all of their traveling and food costs covered. Now, again, whether or not you pay for food and travel to go to an event, that's totally up to you. I've done that, where I've spoken at an event and I paid for food and traveled, and I was at peace with that because it was a really great opportunity. And either way it goes, I wanted to go to this event. Now, I didn't have to pay for my ticket. That was covered as part of me speaking at the event. So, what I'm getting at here is that when we look at what collaboration means, it needs to benefit the both of us. I shouldn't be paying to speak at your event, one, if I'm not guaranteed a spot to speak, but two, especially if you are charging for someone, to attend this event, then no, I should not be paying a fee. Now, this is why it is so important for you to find the right collaborative partners. Again, you don't need to pay for collaboration opportunities. A collaboration is two or more people working together. There are so many collaboration opportunities, like I said, that don't require you to pay a fee, that you don't have to participate in these ones that are requiring you to pay. Like, if anybody's asking for money, like that should be a red flag that goes up like, okay, hold on, what is going on here? Because that is not collaboration. Like, I don't know where this is coming from. Like, even just thinking about like podcast guesting and the host requiring you to pay a fee to be on their podcast, like, unless you can guarantee me a certain amount of exposure, unless you can guarantee me that I'm going to sign so many clients from guesting on your podcast, then no. I mean, I get it, when it comes to a podcast, it costs money to maintain it. But when you make that decision to start a podcast, you're going into it knowing that you're going to have to front those costs, or you find a sponsor. But as a guest, I'm not going to be your sponsor. Like, that just, it really makes me so upset when I see that, especially when I saw the one where they were charging $7,500. And I came across it on Threads, and the person said, yeah, they invited me to speak on their podcast. And I was like, okay, great. Yeah, I would love to speak. And then that's when they told me about the $7,500 fee. It's like, what? Like, what is this? Like, that, I'm sorry, like, that's a crime. Like, somebody needs to go to jail for that because that is ridiculous. Like, okay, I don't care. Like, even if it was one of the top people, like, I'm just throwing these names out here, Amy Porterfield, Jenna Kutcher. No, I'm not going to pay to be on your podcast. And I don't even think I know they don't charge for people to be on their podcast. So, anyways, let me get off my soapbox. I don't want you to be paying for collaboration opportunities because there's so many great ones out there that you don't have to pay for, where people are genuinely looking to collaborate, looking to expand their network, looking to have you share your expertise on their podcast, at their event, different things like that. So, one of the things I want to share is that, inside of the Social Media Detox Club, I really vet out the collaboration opportunities before adding them to the directory. Any that require you to pay or have some crazy, ridiculous requirements, because I've seen that too, I don't include them. I just nope, we're just going to leave that there. Because I don't want to see you taken advantage of. I want to see you, succeed and be able to collaborate and do these things. And there's so many opportunities available, right? So the takeaway here, if you ever come across a collaboration opportunity that requires you to pay a ridiculous amount or requires you to pay anything, and there's no guarantee that you will get accepted, it is not worth it, mama. Just keep on scrolling. Like I said, there are so many great collaboration opportunities available that are mutually beneficial. Now, if you want support in finding the right ones, you need to join us inside the membership. The doors are open. I haven't done a full launch and I'm not going to do one right now, but I've opened the doors. You can join. I don't know if I'm going to close the doors again. Who knows? We'll see. Depends on how I'm feeling. But right now the doors to the membership are open. So if you want to join because you're ready to start leveraging collaborations for your business, you want to increase your visibility and sell your offers without relying on social media. If you want to start generating quality leads monthly, you need to join us inside the membership. Head on over to mamaturnedmompreneur.com/membership. This is linked below in the episode description and in the show notes. All right, mama, I'll catch you in the next episode. Well, mama, that's a wrap on today's episode. Thank you so much for taking time out of your busy day to hang with me. If you enjoyed today's episode, will you do me a favor and follow the podcast and leave a review? Hitting that follow button and sharing your thoughts about the podcast are the best ways to ensure that other mamas like you find this show. Your review also lets me know if you're enjoying this podcast, so make sure to share your thoughts before you go. All right, mama, I'll catch you in the next episode.